WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
Breaking news into the Stream Center in the Madeline Soto homicide investigation. Suspect Stephan Sterns, the boyfriend of the 13-year-old's mother, charged with first-degree murder. A 4 o'clock press conference has been announced by the Kissimmee Police Department. A live feed coming up within the half hour.
Live from WFLA Studios. Top stories, breaking news, interactive coverage in the palm of your hand. This is Stream Center Live. Here's JB Biunno.
Our second live stream of the day on the Madeline Soto case. Back here with you with Garrett Phillips on WFLA.com. JB here with you in the Stream Center. Welcome back in. If you were with us here in the morning session, you know that it was basically a no-show for suspect Stephan Sterns, as the court appearance that was expected this morning turned out to be a whole lot of nothing because of course, Sterns not appearing in court, the court feed never really becoming available, and the trial being pushed back to this summer. All the details on WFLA.com. Speaking of which, let's bring in Garrett. And Garrett, we had the original update early this morning when we found out that the trial was pushed back to, I believe, August, and now we get this afternoon breaking news update that WFLA.com has confirmed Madeline Soto is a step closer to justice today, perhaps. Stephan Sterns charged with first-degree murder.
Right, yes, this is coming from the Osceola County court records. Sterns was originally scheduled to appear for a pretrial hearing today, earlier this morning, which we had mentioned already. He did not show up. They pushed all of those court dates back. At the time, we had originally speculated that perhaps that was to give time for the prosecution to get the autopsy report back to bring forth these exact charges that we're now seeing. And it seems that might have been the case. You could find more, as well as a detailed rundown of everything that has happened so far with this case over at WFLA.com.
That story will be updated as we get more information. So let's explain what's gone on in the last half hour. This is really something that we looked on the Osceola court records and we saw, and I'll read it here for you. It's an updated new court log for Stephan Michael Sterns, defendant, plaintiff, state of Florida. And it's a single charge. And we talked about this morning. If you were on the morning stream, you remember we were talking about what the chart. We ended with the final question from our audience. The final #HeyJB question that we took on stream was, what could the charges look like? We were talking about the possibility of tampering with evidence. We were talking about the possibility
disposal
of
the body,
disposal of a corpse. We're talking about all these different, but it's a singular charge in the Osceola County court system. That's not to say that further, charges could be coming down the line, but I'm reading it here. It is a single count, first-degree murder, capital, under the statute line 782.04 in Florida. I think that there's a way, there's a way in this particular court portal to expand it, and I'll read, here as follows. Once it loads, of course, it says loading charges, even though it's only a singular charge. As it loads, should point out the pre-existing 60 charges that are related to child sex crimes and some of the disturbing images that that investigators allege that they found on Sterns' his mobile phone. That all stays. That's all, of course, still in the court system. Those charges don't just go away because a murder charge has been filed. This is a supplemental murder charge. It's still loading.
This is also of note, the second of the, well, I guess not the second. They've had 8 charges for sexual battery of a child under 12 and 5 counts of sexual battery over a child between 12 and 18. Those sexual battery of a child charges are a capital felony. So that means if he is found guilty on any of those, that means it's either life in prison or the death penalty. Now you can throw on top of, obviously, first-degree murder is also a capital charge.
So prosecutors have options when it comes to
if they somehow can't make, murder charges, for example, are hard to make stick without a lot of concrete evidence for obvious reasons. So if they can't somehow get those to go through, there are other options that the prosecutors have now to try and go after the death penalty if they choose to do so, or for life in prison.
The capital first-degree murder charge, again, for those of you unfamiliar with how the court system in the United States works, and I say that because we do have an international audience that joins us here on stream, the death penalty upon conviction would be on the table. Of course, that's specifically connected to the first-degree murder charge, although the death penalty was originally already on the table with the previous 60 charges. So we're talking about 61 charges in total now, including that first-degree murder charge. All right, the court portal is still loading, so we're going to move past that for a second. I'm going to tell you about the second component of this. Garrett and I was right here in the Stream Center, just quickly picked up the phone and called the Kissimmee Police Department and said, hey, 4 o'clock press conference. We've heard about this. What's going on? And I asked, is this connected to the Madeline Soto investigation? And they are just saying that they are asking local media to come in for a high-profile case. I believe it was either a high-profile case or a high-profile case of interest.
Case of interest is how they put it.
I think that's how they put it. And they won't say that it's for the Madeline Soto case. What they did say is that Chief Betty Holland, the chief of the Kissimmee Police Department, will be speaking. In addition to, they are going to have representation there from the state attorney's office. So
Andrew Bain, I believe, is going to be there.
Okay, so you have you have the state attorney's office, you have the chief of police. This is clearly connected to charges being filed, and so it's all adding up that this press conference is going to be about Madeline Soto. And I have to note as well, in the court records, this is just me being a responsible journalist.
Yes.
And we've seen some reports, and we just have to make sure that we get this across. The court system says that Stephan Sterns has been charged with first-degree murder. It doesn't specify who he is accused of murdering. So at this stage, it is premature to say that the suspect is charged in Madeline Soto's death. And if my tongue slipped at any point over the course of the first 7 or 8 minutes of this live stream, my profound apologies. But I've tried to be as diligent as I can in saying that this is you see it there on the bottom of your screen. The suspect has been charged with murder after Madeline Soto's death, not in Madeline Soto's death. Of course, this is all likely going to be a moot point at 4 o'clock when we have the press conference, when they actually announce details pertaining to the charge, as we expect it to be connected to the Madeline Soto homicide investigation. We're here in the Stream Center waiting for the feed to come in. Of course, here in the Stream Center, we are able to access feeds from across the United States, really around the world, and that's one of the primary purposes of the Stream Center is to bring you high quality feeds on social media with the news stories that we cover, and of course, really honed in on the Madeline Soto story today. We're going to answer your questions here live. We're going to introduce our Facebook audience at some point in the not too distant future. Again, if you're just joining us, you're looking for the press conference. It begins in about 15 minutes time at 4 o'clock Eastern. So what's likely happening right now in the Orlando area is local media, reporters and photographers. It's right before news time. So news reporters are likely scrambling, their photographers scrambling to get to the Kissimmee Police Department to get in position for this press conference. If we don't have a camera feed right at 4:00, I won't get all that nervous. The reason being is because this is all developing in the last hour, and so I know that local media, they're going to be scrambling into position. I know because I've done it.
Right.
You're at that red light, and you're like, oh, all right, I need this to turn green. We need to get to the police.
Desperately on the phone with a police contact saying, "Can you just hold off for
give me
5 minutes?"
5 minutes. They're trying to get over there and get their tripod set up, their camera on that tripod, and then feeding back to their respective station and then distributing out to the grid where we can, of course, tap into that signal here. So lots of moving parts, but it should add up to a 4:00 press conference coming up here in about 14 minutes time for those of you just joining us here in the YouTube live comment section or on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. Any details that I have missed so far, Garrett?
No, I mean, we're kind of still trying to piece together everything that we have here. As you mentioned, we really only have those court records to go off of. And as you mentioned before, Madeline Soto's name is not mentioned in that little court screen that we've seen here. The best way I could put it. The conference will be held at 4:00. Really, it's just, it's to me a bit surprising how quickly this moved after what happened this morning. This morning we had prepared for a pretrial hearing. We were expecting to get some type of forward motion on this. And then, as you were here with me this morning, all of a sudden now it's been pushed back to August. It's been pushed back to July for the pretrial. We were thinking, okay, well, maybe that's to give them time to get back the toxicology report. Maybe it's time to get back the autopsy, give them a chance to bring these charges. And then we're not even here, 10 hours later.
We weren't expecting this.
No,
we
not
weren't
at all.
expecting the same day as the no-show in court and the postponement of trial. We weren't expecting a charge to be filed today, but it all could be, this all could be tied together, that the reason why the trial was delayed. Now, one local media report, and apologies, I don't have it moment, but there was, I believe, one television station that was present and able to report that the reason why the trial was delayed was because the suspect was not prepared to make an adequate defense in May, really, next month, in 3 weeks from now, which is to really no one's surprise, given how quick things have moved and how aggressively things have been scheduled. And apologies, I'm usually really good at attribution, but I forget where I saw that. But it was a local news station saying that the reason was because the defense was not prepared for a May trial. Now, could there be a tie-in with now this charge being filed, first-degree murder charge being filed? Maybe we'll find out here. The big question for me, and this is a good segue to getting into our social media comments, and we'll take your comments with hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyGarrett. You can also go interactive and submit a VIP comment on www.heyjb.live if you want to connect with us directly here in the Stream Center. The big thing for me, I want to know is, do investigators finally have that completed autopsy report in their hands? The autopsy report is such a massive piece of the puzzle. And while the examination of the remains can be done relatively quickly, as we talked about on the morning stream, toxicology can take, 15 weeks on average?
FDLE said about, at least 15 weeks is how they put it, which when they say at least, that means that's the quickest you're going to get it. Which, again, we know she was found in March, beginning of March. That should be roughly the end of June, assuming that 15-week period is what they're adhering to. Now, obviously, it could have maybe come back quicker. We talked about this previously, too, when we talked about why it might have been delayed or whether that was delayed until August, and that the pretrial in July, that maybe by the end of June, they were expecting to get the autopsy back. Mm-hmm. And I had mentioned at the time that end of June to get back that autopsy report to go right into a pretrial at the beginning of July. I thought that it might be delayed again because of what we mentioned already. The defense wasn't necessarily ready, whether it was because of discovery or whatever the case might be, to actually properly defend Stephan Sterns. So I wonder, did they maybe delay it because they knew this charge was coming?
Right. It was, and look, this charge didn't just get put together in the last 90 minutes. Obviously, it's something that's going to take some time to get filed and get filed properly, and then to show up as public record for us to be able to find in the media. So this has likely been in the works for at least a good portion of today, perhaps going back a bit into this week. You have to really know how it works in that particular county and how that police department and state attorney's office functions. Obviously, we're in Florida, but we're over on the Gulf Coast side. This is, of course, all occurring in Central Florida and the greater Orlando area in the Orlando market. So let's reset. If you are just joining us, welcome into the Stream Center, folks. JB here with you with WFLA.com, digital producer Garrett Phillips, who wrote the story on our website. Stephan Sterns has been charged with murder after the death of Madeline Soto. He is now facing a 61st charge after the original 60 charges were related to child sex crimes and the material that was allegedly found on his phone. But of course, people have been asking for weeks, us in the media, both in the Orlando market, the Tampa market, across the state of Florida, there's been this question asked: when are there going to be charges filed in Madeline Soto's death, in the homicide investigation that has followed the discovery of her remains? And that question has seemingly been answered, and it's been answered here today, really this afternoon in the last hour, with the first-degree murder charge being filed. Although we are still awaiting confirmation specifically that it's Sterns connected to Soto and that it's right. that's the charge specifically there. We're going to get more information coming up here in about 10 minutes in the 4 o'clock hour. So looking here in the Stream Center, waiting for that feed to pop up. It has not popped up yet. Again, local media likely scrambling over to the Kissimmee Police Department and trying to look. Orlando's known for traffic. I've been to Orlando. They got traffic. Right. They've got their fair share of it. So hopefully all the reporters get there safe and on time. All right, let's start taking comments. You can submit a VIP comment on HJB Live. And that's actually, this is the first VIP comment that I am seeing. We'll see if there's any others coming in. And then you can also use hashtag HJB. But when you use hashtag HJB on social media, including here on YouTube Live, I have to kind of be looking at that right moment. If you submit a VIP comment, I can find it, and it gets auto-added to the queue. Danielle, was there a warrant for his arrest today if he didn't appear in court? I thought he was actually in custody this whole time. He is in custody. No, he is in custody. You see him in custody there from a perp walk in I believe in March. I don't remember the exact date for this perp walk, but I believe it was last month. And so yes, no, he is facing the additional charge while in custody without bond. So he's not able to just kind of waltz out of court. The charges were significant enough, the original 60, that he remains in lockup. Also, too, he's being represented by a public defender, not a private attorney. So that is kind of a little bit about his current situation there in Osceola County. All right, we'll look for some other comments. Again, I can only animate them if they come into www.hjb.live or if they have hashtag HJB included. And so looking here, we'll wait for them. Oh, yeah, and look, you can use hashtag Garrett too. Michelle, our one of our great YouTube moderators, is saying, yeah, you can also use hashtag Garrett. That's pretty new.
Yeah, that's something I'm not going to get used to for a little while.
We've had a lot of people with their hashtag hey comments populate on screen over the years. Let's go to Tara. Hashtag HJB. Where is Jen Soto?
Great question.
It's a great question.
We don't know.
I don't have GPS monitoring of a woman who has not been accused of any crime, nor do I have GPS monitoring of anybody that's ever been accused of a crime. No, we don't know where she is. Now, I understand the question. It's not being asked directly, anticipating a response. I would be shocked if she was at this press conference. Could she be there? Sure. But but now let's go to YouTube Live. Jay Gone. #KJB. Do you think we'll get an update on the mother? It feels strange not hearing from the victim's mother on a case like this. I want to address these two, the question and the statement separately. The question first. Do you think we'll get an update on the mother? Not during the primary announcement that they're going to make during this press conference, but you can bet your bottom dollar that one of the reporters in that room in the follow-up Q&A that we hope to get is going to ask about Jen Soto. I'd be shocked if one of the reporters in the room didn't ask about the victim's mother. And so we will, of course, get an update, or we hope to get an update there. And then also, it feels strange not hearing from the victim's mother on a case like this. It's not that strange. It's not. When parents lose children, in my experience in covering a lot of cases, pertaining to parents losing their children to unspeakable acts of evil, it is more common that you see a parent retreat into a bubble of just grief, and not want to face the bright lights, the cameras. I mean, was the expectation a press tour? Or, I mean, not that she's going to go around and doing media. I think what Jay Gon's probably getting at is why isn't she, speaking at community functions or things like that. But it's highly. I mean, imagine it was you. Take a moment and think about it. If you lost your 13-year-old child, really your child, really of any age, any child, and you lost them to unspeakable acts of just evil, what would you do? Some people, their natural reaction might be to want to speak publicly, but in my experience in covering a lot of cases like this, it's more often that people need their space. Parents need their space when going through their nightmare come to life. So I don't think that it's all that strange, but I'm very well aware, as being somebody who does a lot of interactive work on live streaming, I am very well aware of the comments, very well aware of the narrative that exists online. Let me please point out, it is speculative. People have their right to speculate about anyone with the cases that we cover. It's just she hasn't been accused of any crime, and we have to emphasize that she is not a suspect or a person of interest, and hasn't been named as such by local authorities. So that's the comment there from Jagon. N2 walking with a VIP comment on HeyJB.live. Do we know if her mom has visited him in jail or talked on the phone? We don't know that.
We haven't really seen any reports of that either, as far as I'm aware. You would think that, especially with how much attention that this case has gotten from her, from that perspective, I would think that if that were the case, if she were making regular visits, maybe we'd have heard about it, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
Garrett, I'm going to ask you to check with our staff out there and try to get an update on this feed, because we don't want to miss the beginning of this press conference. So Garrett's going to go check to make sure that everything is going smoothly out there, and maybe we can get some information on an update on the feed itself, because the time is now 3:59 and that feed hasn't popped up here in the Stream Center. We do know that Stephan Sterns had a conversation with a deputy that was transporting him. That was a story that came out a few weeks ago. A lot of it was small talk. But if you Google Stephan Sterns and you check out the news section, you'll be able to see video of Stephan Sterns, in the back of a police cruiser, in lockup, I think in handcuffs, and talking to the deputy that's transporting him. And a lot of it is just, just passing time, just small talk. Let's see here. Let's go to some other comments that are coming in. That might be my source right there. That could be my source right there. Again, for those of you just joining us, the time is now 4 o'clock. That's the time the press conference is scheduled for. And as I noted earlier, local reporters in the Orlando area, their photographers likely scrambling into position to get this press conference up as soon as possible because this is all developing in the last hour. And stand by. I'm just confirming some coordinates here so that we can bring this in. In the meantime, as I'm waiting for that info to come back, looking here at some of your other comments, saying hello to Stephen, Austin, Sandy, Lisa Marie. I'll get to your comments here in just a moment. I do see that it is a press conference located outside as Garrett comes back in. What's the good word?
Well, we, at least unless something has changed since the time I walked in over here, nothing yet, but that the plan was still to get a feed from them. So we are still expecting one. Net 12.
That's the one I thought. Yep. I saw it pop up, and thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes people will come in here in the Stream Center and just shout out router sources for us so that we can pull up these live feeds, and that is super helpful. So that feed is, okay, there it is. I do not, the press conference hasn't started. I want to make this clear. The press conference hasn't started yet. It's just as we anticipated. Everyone's trying to get in position, and it looks as if they
crowd
are
gathered. It's fairly substantial too, a pretty sizable one.
Yeah, it looks like they are not starting directly on time to allow all the reporters in the area to arrive and get their gear. The good public information officers out there
Giving
like
us a
said,
pause. Yes.
We'll just make sure that everyone's there, set up. There's not a huge difference between 4 o'clock and 4:05. The press conference will happen when the press conference happens. But yes, can assure you the press conference feed is coming into the Stream Center now, and we'll have it to share momentarily.
I'm sure too, if you're, chief of police, the last thing you want to do is have to have your press conference interrupted by a crew arriving late. Easier to just give them a 5-minute cushion rather than to start without them and potentially have to have that interrupted.
Let's see here. Oh. Come on, JB, get it together. Get it together.
While we are waiting for the press conference to start as well, for any more information about the case that anybody might be interested in, we have all of that information over at the website, WFLA.com. We have a new story up about this new charge, as well as the other 60 charges and what was the delayed court appearance that happened earlier this morning. All that information over there for you on our homepage.
Appreciate it, Garrett. And we'll, of course, update our content on WFLA.com as soon as we get more information. And as soon as this feed pops up, Garrett, as soon as the shot actually populates, we'll welcome in our Facebook audience. Right now we are live on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, heyjb.live, and the WFLA YouTube page, where, again, the 4 o'clock press conference has not started. It is starting late as all of the various reporters and camera crews in Orlando arrive safely. I think that they do that too because they don't want those reporters and camera crews like rushing on the roads, right? I mean,
right.
that would be a terrible set of circumstances if there was news crew
a very
rushing.
bad accent because of a rush. Yeah, a bad accident because of that. That would be.
You don't want that to happen. Okay. So waiting. In the meantime, look, we'll continue to take some comments as we wait for that to come in. Again, speaking will be
State Attorney Andrew Bain and Kissimmee Police Chief Betty Holland are expected to hold these news conference here in Osceola County.
Looking for some other comments that we can bring up in the meantime. Again, it's got to have hashtag HeyJB or come in to heyjb.live. That's how it works. That's how you consent to have your comment put up on screen. Let's see here. Makeup by Rocky, one of our moderators on the WFLA YouTube page, hashtag HeyJB. I want to do a PSA real quick. Predators are everywhere. It's not just men. This is very common. I also mod a predator channel. It can be people you know or people you don't know. Just be vigilant about your kids. We talked about it on the morning stream.
We did.
People were asking us questions. Hey, like need more laws to protect children. And the fact of the matter is this: the reality is simple. Is that while laws can be preventative, there is no extermination of evil. There will always be people who commit heinous acts, unspeakable acts that most of us could never dream up in our wildest, most delusional nightmares. And so, what was the law that we had? The suggestion that we had somebody had suggested
background checks was an option.
A background check on every time a parent begins dating somebody
and to bring their kid around their new right. That's not something you can do.
It's not realistic. All right, so now that's all right. So that's the wrong feed. Stand by, folks.
We know this case has gained significant public attention because Madeline had just celebrated her 13th birthday and was just a child. The evidence shows an individual that was entrusted to keep Madeline safe made calculated moves to dispose Madeline's belongings and place her body in a wooded area before she was ever reported missing. For the 4 days following her disappearance, the entire community was actively looking to find Madeline safe and alive. Tragically, on March 1st, Madeline's remains were found. Our detectives have worked tirelessly to piece together the events leading up to Madeline's disappearance and death. With the collaboration of the state's attorney's office, we prepared the case for the grand jury that was heard today. The grand jury determined that our department secured enough evidence to obtain a first-degree murder indictment. We appreciate each grand jury member for their careful consideration. We want to thank the diligent work of the state's attorney's office, the medical examiner's office, and our other law enforcement partners who assisted with this investigation. Your expertise and dedication were instrumental in uncovering the truth. The indictment signifies a crucial step forward in our quest for justice and a testament to our commitment to honoring Madeline's memory. We will now take questions. Right, I'm going to defer to the state's attorney.
Good afternoon. Although an indictment has been returned this afternoon, it is still an open and ongoing criminal investigation. So much of this information cannot be disclosed until Mr. Sterns' attorney, if he does so, elects to participate in discovery, and then all of you in the media know how to go about seeking information through public records.
Not that we've uncovered.
Again, all questions about the facts of the case are not subject to disclosure because of public records laws at this time. Once his attorney participates in discovery, then you can make public records requests through your normal channels as you do in other cases. At this time, the only person being charged is Stephan Sterns. And again, this is not over. There is an ongoing investigation to uncover more evidence, and therefore we can't comment. There's going to be the same response on any question about the facts of the case. Through the facts of the case.
So with any death case that is reviewed by my office, when it's determined to be a homicide, we have to look at the statutory aggravating factors that are laid out in our Florida law. Once we've determined that we have sufficient evidence to prove those factors to the proper evidentiary standard, then we had to have to talk about whether this is a death penalty case. And that's a discussion that we're still going to be having for the next couple weeks to make sure that we're making a legal decision that's appropriate in this case. I'll leave that for Mr. Will.
Cannot comment on whether Mr. Sterns has been doing anything. He has counsel. And as far as plea offers, no, there are no plea offers made on the open case. You can address that question with the indictment that should be on the clerk's website if it's not already.
I'm going to defer to the state's attorney.
Again, any question about the facts of the case, it's going to be the same answer. Once his attorney participates in discovery, the public records laws change, and you all will be able to get a lot of that information. As far as the 60 counts that are already filed against Mr. Sterns, that is solely involving Mr. Sterns as a defendant. Not to those 60 charges. It's an ongoing investigation. Can't comment on who's working with us.
This will be the last question. I'll let you get that in.
It's facts of the case, can't comment on it.
So thank you all so much for coming out today. If you need this gentleman's name, it is Will J, Willjay. He is our homicide unit chief for the state attorney's office for the 9th Judicial. Thank you all so much for coming out today.
We owe an apology to our audience. It takes two people or two sides of the equation to present a live stream to you when it comes to a feed of a press conference or a trial or so on and so forth. It takes one side sending a feed and then the other side receiving it, and it was not sent our way. Yes, mistakes happen. Clearly frustrated because I missed the beginning of this press conference, as did our audience. And to tell you the truth, Garrett, I feel I don't like not having all of the information in front of me. So I'm hoping that we get a taped feedback and we could, recycle this back for our audience. It just gives me tremendous discomfort to talk about a press conference when I only heard a portion of it and not the entirety of it, which in all the years we've been doing this in the Stream Center, it's it's almost never happened where a live feed, So frustrated, clearly, but hopefully we're able to get it back. What we can say is clearly an indictment has been handled down. That Stephan Sterns has been indicted for first-degree murder in the Madeline Soto case. And so a lot of that, a lot of the questions that people had in our comment section, both on the morning stream and the afternoon stream, as I've been monitoring your comments here, we're met with we can't comment on that. Basically the equivalent of we can't comment on that. Everybody hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
You can hear me fine.
I can hear you fine.
Hopefully everybody. Thumbs up emoji if audio is working in the comment section, folks. So yeah, we pride. Look, and the last I'll speak on this because this is something. We've put a tremendous amount of work into this. So we pride ourselves here in distributing feeds. That's one of the primary functions of the Stream Center, and so it takes a lot of teamwork. We distribute our streams. When we have news out of Tampa, we of course share our feeds with our partners. Our partners share their feeds with us. That's how we're able to make this crazy thing called the news work. And so apologies that we did not have the beginning of that feed. It was not on our end. It was on the other side. All right. So in the meantime, let's take some questions, some comments. Hashtag HeyJB or submit a VIP comment to HeyJB Live, and we'll look. I'm uncomfortable at the moment because I didn't hear the beginning of this, but I will do my very best. A lot of comments that I've seen in the comment section are focused on that you couldn't hear the reporter's questions. That's a problem with a lot of press conferences when getting answers from officials, but you don't know what the question was. Drives me crazy.
Yeah, that unfortunately is just kind of the nature of the business. It is very difficult to, especially for an impromptu press conference like this, mic up everybody, right? The normally the press conference is more worried about getting the mic on the officials who are giving out the information. So oftentimes you will not hear great audio from the reporters, and that's just because it's hard to do that, logistically speaking.
I'm looking for that indictment. We were getting a ton of comments. Do you have any court documents that we can go through? You heard there from the state attorney's office. He mentioned that the indictment will be loaded into the court portal, and I don't see it yet to drop any moment. Well, that's what live streaming is for, is that we can... I mean, hold on. There are some new documents that have dropped, but it's in the other court file, the one with the 60 charges. What's this? Let's bring up this one. No, this is just pertaining to rescheduling the trial for the summer. That's not it. This is the one. This is the waiver that was, it appears, signed yesterday, where Stephan Sterns signing that he was not going to. He was going to waive his court appearance. He was not going to show up. So, looking here at some other documents, guys. Everyone, sorry, just bear with us. No, this isn't it either. I'm hoping that it, comes up at some point, but I don't have it. Hopefully, it comes up in the not too distant future, and we'll have it. Yeah, nada. Okay, so that, we'll keep an eye on that, and in the meantime, we'll come back to your comments. So, loud and proud with this comment, do you suppose that they found something they didn't initially have that allowed them to finally bring an indictment? Probably not it. Probably not it. It's probably something coming back. Well, did they find... So, I want to... The way that this question was asked, did they find something that they didn't have previously? Probably not. Did they receive something that they didn't have previously? Maybe. Could it have been some forensics that they were waiting to come back from inside the home? Could it have been the final autopsy with the included toxicology lab work? Could it have been the medical examiner's final determination of cause of death? I mean, it could have been one of several different things as to what led them to not having a murder charge and then all of a sudden having one. It would be reckless and irresponsible to say that it's any one thing without having heard the entirety of the press conference, which is why, again, I feel like I'm stuck out at sea without a raft at the moment. It's just a really, guys, for a journalist, it's doesn't get that much more uncomfortable being on camera under the lights when you don't have the information in front of you that you should have. Just being honest. It's what I do on stream. I'm honest. I'm being honest. It's uncomfortable for me right now to be able to talk about a story where I don't have the entirety of the information. I keep looking this way because I want a taped feed to play back of the press conference so that we could hear it all, but we don't. Kelly, hashtag HJB. Don't worry. I know. I worry, but I'm just trying to explain the source of my worry. We get it. A summary. Stephan Sterns been charged with Madeline's murder. It's still an ongoing investigation. So can't talk about Jen. Jen is the mother of a victim. Unless it was said in a portion of the press conference that I missed, is simply the mother of a victim. Hasn't been named a suspect. Hasn't been named a person of interest, hasn't been identified as somebody that they are pursuing an investigative lead on. And so we talked about this a little bit on the morning stream, and Garrett will kind of rehash this, but it's natural, and we see it with other cases. It's natural for people to want to have somebody, want to basically point the finger and at a parent, but you just don't know the household dynamics. You don't know what was going on inside of that home. We do not know how much Jen Soto was aware of the allegation, or how much she was aware of the alleged abuses that were going on, and we don't know, if she is, if there's any evidence that she committed any crimes. It's important to note that. That there's a ton of social media chatter pointing in that direction. but it's all just social media chatter. It's not rooted in anything that came out in any of these press conferences, with the exception of the press conference that I just didn't see in its entirety a few minutes ago. This is a good question from Laura Thom, #HJB. How long do Stephan's lawyers get to review the case? Well, they'll have months. The public defender who's going to be working on Stearns and his defense will have until really August when trial begins. You would hope that they're able to look. You never want you want both sides to be ready for trial. You never want one side to be handicapped. You want the correct outcome. And so you want the prosecution to say, thumbs up, we're ready. You want the defense to say, thumbs up, we have what we need to prepare or to present an adequate defense. And so it will be months. But as Garrett noted earlier on stream, there's no guarantee we have a trial in August. It's on the schedule. And that is something, as on the media side of things, we appreciate, because we can at least tell people, what's next with the case. There's so many cases where things are kind of in limbo and stuck in purgatory, and you just don't know when there's going to be a trial or when the next hearing is going to be. It's just, you find out when you find out. At least having some structure in Osceola County, that's helpful. But will it? There's no guarantee that it will open. That it will actually happen at that time. Some other as a reminder, again, if you're just joining us, you can use www.heyjb.live. It looks like this, or no, looks like this. When you go to that website, and that's where you can submit a VIP comment. It is free. There's no tracking of your information or anything like that. It's just a name, where you're watching from, comment, and you hit the send button. That's it.
I believe the arraignment might be available now.
Okay. You have a document?
I am looking to get into it right now. Oh, took me back to this. Hold on. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, well, I have an arraignment date.
Oh, yeah. It's just a date. I thought there was a document here, but there's not.
Yeah. The arraignment set for April 29th. What day of the week is that? Is that Monday? It is. So Monday,
next Monday
at 1:30 p.m. in front of Judge Keith Karsten. And that will be the formal presentation of this new charge of first-degree murder. So we don't have the indictment yet, but we do have an arraignment date for that indictment. And maybe we'll get that. We'll stay on stream. I got to mute mics for 1 second. Hold on, folks. All right, we're back. I have 5 minutes on stream. I'm needed elsewhere. Apologies. So let's rapid fire through as many of these comments as possible, folks, and I'll do my very best to get to as many of these as I can in the next 5 minutes, because unfortunately, I've been told that I am needed elsewhere. Oh, Beverly. I tried the VIP, but it said it wasn't available in my area. You'll see it here on the left side of your screen. Our international audience beyond the United States and Canada, punch in world.heyjb.live. And that should work. Give that a shot. Let's see here. Other comments. It's got a. Oh, Emily. Well, thank you. I very much appreciate that. That's very kind. Yes, you can use #HeyJB. You can use #HeyGarrett. Any final questions, comments, observations? Lil Patty wants excuse me, do we know if the autopsy report has been released? As Garrett noted earlier, there will not be an autopsy report released publicly on this case due to the fact that Madeline Soto is a minor. Now, cause of death could come out over the course of the process, and we might, but the actual autopsy reports can be disturbing. There can be disturbing details in an autopsy report. When we're talking about a child, it's obviously becomes that much more sensitive, that much more delicate of a case. So
it should be noted that they had previously said, I'm trying to make sure if I can find where we had reported this, but the medical examiner's office, I believe, had said her cause of death will not be released publicly. Whether that means it will possibly come out through the trial, through evidence, being presented, that's a separate thing. But as far as a public release of her cause of death, that's not going to happen.
So we just got those VIP comments come in. Luis says, "Do you think that they are hiding something?" No.
They being
like
authorities.
The authorities. I don't think they're hiding. Excuse me, I have a tickle. I don't think they're hiding something. I think it's just that look, when they say that we can't get into that right now, that we can't answer that question at this stage in the investigation. We're not prepared to comment on that. Those types of responses are fueled really by one motive: to not compromise the ongoing investigation and to not compromise a prosecutor being able to prosecute their case. So,
they're not telling us they're
hiding. No, I mean,
they're not holding anything back because they don't want us to know about it. They're holding us something back because either they don't, know exactly what it is that they might be telling us, right? Part of that is just like we are as reporters, right? We don't want to report the news unless we know for a fact that what we're saying is true, right? Just like authorities are not going to come out and say something about a case when they might not have all the information, right? Or they're still going through evidence. They're still going through, with the trial that has to happen, as JB mentioned, that's a part of it.
Do you think that Stephan Sterns will be a no-show for the arraignment, or is he going to be forced to go? I don't believe. I believe that just like previously, he can sign paperwork to waive being present for the arraignment. But with the arraignment being the formal presentation of the most, serious charge that Sterns has ever faced in his life, being a no-show for the arraignment would be eye-opening, to say the least. I would be shocked if he wasn't at the arraignment. That sends a not appearing in court to stand there and be present. I think it sends a very clear message that you'd rather sit in a jail cell than go be part of your own defense. That's a loud thing to declare. So to not be there for arraignment would be a headline. You're being charged with first-degree murder. The death penalty is on the table upon conviction, and you're not going to leave a jail cell. We're not talking about the Ritz. You're not going to leave a jail cell to go into a courtroom to stand before a judge that, in part has your fate in his hands. I'd be shocked. I'm just sharing. I'd be shocked if he wasn't there for the arraignment. Pretrial hearings, the little stuff. Okay, that's one thing to waive your appearance, but to not be there for arraignment, or not be there for trial, these are things that are very loud.
Correct me if I'm wrong, JB, but I believe he waived his arraignment for the other 60 charges, correct?
I don't believe that there was. That's something I'll have to check on off stream. No, it's right here. I'm sorry. No, you're correct. April 2nd was the arraignment on the 60 previous charges. waived appearance.
He waived that, yeah. And I mean, as we have mentioned multiple times.
So hold on. So then maybe it's not as outlandish as it might.
Right.
I'm saying that I would be shocked if he wasn't there for arraignment. He already missed the arraignment where the death penalty was on the table to 60 other charges.
Exactly.
Maybe it's not that crazy.
Now, that is a different scenario than maybe not showing up for the pretrial, right? Which he did this morning, but we probably, I think at this point, can tell a big reason why he maybe didn't show up is because they knew they were going to be pushing this trial date back anyway. But yeah, waiving arraignment, I think that's something that is probably likely based on just his previous history.
Folks, I am my most profound apologies. I am being summoned, and I have to end this live stream. I want to point out all of our updated information. You can find it where?
WFLAnow.com.
Or WFLA.com.
I said WFLA now, didn't I? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. WFLA.com, WFLAnow.com, WFLA's app. We now have more details, of course, and we'll circle back on details missed in the beginning of the press conference that did not make it into the stream center. All the information coming your way on WFLA.com. Thanks so much for joining us.